Welcome, welcome back to I Don't Have Time to Work. I'm Luke.
Troy, how are you?
Thanks for joining us again. We've got a very special presentation this week. Troy got to talk to James Orsini, the C.O.O. of Vayner Media.
Yeah.
How was that for you, bro?
Dude, it was awesome. Awesome. Legendary guy as well. Just really nice, chilled, relaxed guy. Yeah, it was awesome. He had some really cool things to say, and yeah, you can definitely tell why Gary Vee employed the man. That's no doubt.
Definitely. I've been editing the video for the past week, and I've really been enjoying everything that he's been saying. He really is the most chill dude ever.
Just winds it all back. Like, it's just all common sense.
Just so common sense, and I can see why that team works and why the Vayner Media team is absolutely kicking goals and is such an inspiration for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we really enjoyed putting it together. We hope that you guys enjoyed it. Here's James Orsini from Vayner Media.
Cool.
Okay. Well, hello everyone, and thanks for joining us again for another episode of I Don't Have Time to Work. Today we have a very special guest, all the way from the USA, James Orsini, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Vayner Media. James, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you very much. Yes, and I do know it's quite late in the evening over there, so a long work day has it been over there today?
Yeah, well, you've forced me to take a script out of Gary's hustle book.
Yeah.
10 p.m. as we kick off here in New York.
Yeah, awesome. Look, James, really just wanted to touch base and talk to. We've been talking to people worldwide, entrepreneurs, business owners, but also people who are working within companies and places that are doing big things, and Vayner Media is definitely one of those things. Can you? I know this is a very broad question, but can you describe your average workday at Vayner Media?
Wow, when I first started with Gary, my title was actually Chief Integration Officer.
Okay.
And that's because he said, I want to give you a title that's amorphous enough to have you play in whatever area I need you to play in.
Yep.
Whether that was building production studios in Long Island City, opening offices in London or Chattanooga, or helping with a curriculum for interns and residents. So it's really broad. I go as directed by Gary, really to help scale his vision. I'm there to help him scale on the operations side.
Awesome, cool. And was the meeting with Gary, was that something that was planned, or was it more so you guys kind of passed, your paths crossed? How did that happen?
Yeah, very funny. I had never really heard of Gary at the time that we. I knew his younger brother AJ.
Yep.
Chuck. We met probably about 9 years ago at I sat next to him at a basketball game.
Okay.
To talking, and at that time I was Chief Operating Officer of Saatchi & Saatchi, and he was telling me how he, his brother, and a couple guys started a small social media agency, and I invited him down to Saatchi to see what it was like when he got bigger.
Yes.
We stayed in touch. If there was a piece of business that wasn't right for Saatchi, I'd kind of refer to him. And as time went on, I provided a little mentor type role to him. Hey, James, you know somebody who does this. How would you handle this? Have you ever done that? Kind of questioning, which I very openly shared. And most recently, before coming to Gary, I was CEO of a small publicly traded mobile media company. Trades on the NASDAQ, and my developers had developed something that was right for Facebook, and they asked me who they could show it to. And I said, well, I know this kid, AJ, he's got a social media company, maybe he could take a look at it. And he did. That's how we sort of rekindled. And I left C.O.O. And I called AJ to just say that I was going to get back into the world of big New York City advertising.
Yep.
So I'm giving him a heads up. And he said, James, have you ever met my brother Gary? And I said, no. He said, well, have you ever heard of my brother Gary? And I said, no. And he said, well, why don't you do a quick Google search? He's not going to be hard to find.
Okay.
And he wasn't.
Yeah.
And so we took a meeting, 15-minute meeting actually,
Yep.
because that's Gary's typical meeting.
Yep.
And I left, and I got a call from AJ, and that call was, hey, good news, he likes you, he wants to have a dinner with you.
Awesome.
So we had a dinner, and you know, he sort of laid out some of what his vision was at that time, that he wanted to be a $500 million integrated international independent communications company.
Yep.
He asked if I could help him with that, and I said, yeah, I could.
Yep.
So he said, all right, don't take one of those other positions. Why don't you come to work for me?
Yeah, awesome. It's amazing how a lot of job opportunities, or just opportunities in general, come up, and usually those best ones, the most rewarding ones, are literally just like, 15 minutes chat, we've connected, we've got the same visions, our visions aligned, let's go. And I could imagine that the meeting went somewhere along those lines.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, it was a dinner on a Tuesday night in Tribeca.
Yeah.
9 p.m. because you know, you're going to really fit into Gary's schedule.
Yeah.
And I remember actually not saying yes because I still really didn't know.
Yep.
You know, and I asked a few colleagues that I had. I'd been in the space for about 25 years, so I had and still have a lot of contacts in the space. And some people who were more familiar with Gary and what it was that he was building had encouraged me and said, you know what, he's a special guy, but he actually does need somebody like you to help actualize the vision.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just to recap, guys, my name's Troy from I Don't Have Time to Work. We're talking to James Orsini today, the Chief Operating Officer of Vayner Media in New York City. I've got the backdrop of my car here because I wanted to fit into James's schedule, and I was actually traveling today. But it's all worked out. It's all good. James, you mentioned there about AJ, Gary's brother, and that as well. Was that because obviously, you know, as it is to the public, everyone sees Gary and that kind of thing. Is AJ still an active partner within the business as well?
Yeah. So what had happened was AJ was the chief operating officer and really helped Gary scale the business to about 42 million, which it was when I arrived.
Yeah.
A little under 400 people at that time. And he stayed in that role for about 15 months, and I stayed in the chief integration officer role. And then in a very public announcement, he announced that he had Crohn's disease and that it is stress induced. And he said, quite frankly, this is a big company now. I don't want to run a big company. I'm going to do something different. You know, you help my brother with this. And he went to do something called Vayner Sports, which he and Gary are involved in. They represent college football players seeking a way into the NFL.
Yep.
So,
yeah, awesome, cool. Yeah, that's good. And that's and what was I guess the other question I had, what was the kind of rough time frame on that? Because when you mentioned the numbers and the figures and what he was aiming for, when was that conversation that you had with Gary at 9 p.m. on that Tuesday night?
I've been with Gary now 3.5 years.
Okay, cool.
We've watched the business grow from 42 to about 150 million.
Yep.
A little under 400 employees to a little over 800 employees.
Yep.
He has begun his international footprint with our first office in London, likely to have another in Singapore, either fourth quarter of this year or first quarter of next.
Yep.
We have made our first large acquisition through the acquisition of PureWow, which is a digital publishing division.
Yep.
We have grown out a media planning and buying division that's really second to none in the digital space. And most recently, I've been spending some time helping to build out and manage his full-service production studios in Long Island City, right outside of Manhattan.
Awesome. That's seems like you got plenty on your plate there, James. So that's always exciting. Does so So is there any plans? So does Vayner Media have a like a? I'm assuming I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyway. Is there a cap, or is it just like full scale and as much exposure as possible?
Yeah, what's great about Gary is it's such on the cutting edge of seeing things before most others do.
Yep.
So it's really hard to predict what is the next thing that he's feeling.
Yeah.
It is not unusual for us to start 4 to 6 new business initiatives that weren't in place a year before.
Yeah.
Really new revenue generating divisions that are in place. This year, he's doubled down significantly on voice, whether that's Alexa skills in Google Home or podcasts. We have 2 podcast studios built out in Long Island City as well.
Yep.
Most recently, he's installed a Twitch studio.
Yep.
So
yep.
we're getting used to what that's all about.
Yep.
Just the app, subscribe to the Twitch TV and the Gary Vee channel.
Yeah.
So, he goes where the attention is.
Yep. Yep.
And
yep. For sure.
That's why he says market in the year that you live in.
Yep.
And not the past.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes so much sense. I'm always amazed with Gary and his vision and how how simple he puts it as well. And it just makes so much sense. Is that I really do believe that people really do try to overcomplicate things, but if you just simplify it, and as you said, you have your core values and just work on them, and I mean, expand.
Yeah, it's true. He's not afraid to question the status quo.
Yep.
We were talking about how it typically works in the advertising business, which is storyboards, animatic, and research, testing, and focus groups.
Yep.
Doesn't work well, throw it away, do it again. And he's like, yeah, I don't think I like that model. Why don't I just produce 3 relatively reasonably priced videos? We'll have all 3 of them perform for me on Facebook. Take the one that performs the best, tweak it a little bit, take it up to television.
Yep.
So that's a model that we've been doing for 100 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Like a 15-minute meeting.
Yep.
And it's worked well, and several of our clients are using that instead.
Yep. Yep.
And I think we benefit from the fact that he's not really an ad guy. You know what I mean? He's an operating CEO, but he's strategic. He's creative. He's all about sales.
Yep.
And he's all about garnishing attention, developing personal brand, creating media properties, individuals.
Yep.
That get a liberty to play in so many other areas.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And as
property.
So what was that? Sorry.
If you're a media property first, and that's what he encourages all the entrepreneurs around him as well. Become a media property first, because then it gives you the liberty to do whatever you want to do.
Yep.
What do you want to do? Sell sneakers? Yep, I could do that as a media property.
Yep.
You want books? Yep, I could do that. You want to run an agency? That too.
Yep.
So
yeah,
it's media property.
I really like as well how Vayner Media there isn't any friction. So it literally does not matter what platform, what way you want to communicate with Gary or the team. There is every platform is catered for. So if you're someone that's like, no, I refuse to use nothing but Twitch, I only want to use Twitter or whatever it may be, there's always a connection and a way to reach the team and hear what's coming out as well, which is just eliminating the friction, which is a huge thing.
Right, so you're scratching the surface of a very deep and important issue, right? And it is why Vayner Media is so hugely successful as an integrated marketing company, okay?
Yep.
Most holding companies profess to be that, but they're all really just siloed. They're incentivized as silos. This is a disciplined, blind approach. One CEO, one bottom line, who can move resources as he and you as the client see fit to get your your product sold, your services increased. You know what I mean? It's disciplined. It doesn't matter to him. As long as the attention is there. If it's going to be a Twitter hack, that's different than a long form video on Facebook, well, then so be it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Just to recap, guys, my name's Troy from I Don't Have Time to Work, chatting to James Orsini today, Chief Operating Officer of Vayner Media. Thank you again for joining us, James, and I'd love to hear a bit about your background, James, before you joined Vayner Media. I know you mentioned there that you're with Satoshi and Satoshi. What else had you kind of done that kind of led you into that role?
Yeah, it's quite a journey. Actually, I started out in public accounting. I'm a New York State CPA. Worked for KPMG.
Okay.
And my clients was a division of Saatchi & Saatchi, a branding company called C.O.O. And that's where I got introduced to the space. And I said to myself, gee, I could see myself here someday. This is the kind of environment that I could see myself working in.
Yeah.
I in the 80s to go to Wall Street. I worked at Goldman Sachs.
Yep.
I was an analyst in the investment banking division. And I just didn't like it. Wall Street in the 80s was the place to be, but it was not. So I got a call from a guy who said, hey, man, the Saatchi brothers just bought a single public relations firm in New York City, and they're going to build a worldwide company. And if you leave Goldman Sachs someday, you'll be the CFO of that company. And I did. And that company was called Roland. It's now part of the MSNL group. And within 5 years, we built the 5th largest public relations firm in the world. And I was a global CFO overseeing 31 offices in 26 countries before I was 30.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
I stood there until Saatchi was acquired by Publicis. And I said, you know what, this is probably a good time to change. I went to work for Interbrand, which is owned by Omnicom, one of the world's largest branding companies. I was their global CFO for 4 years, and then their North American Chief Operating Officer for 2. Got a call back from Saatchi and said, hey, can you be our Chief Operating Officer? This time for Saatchi, what we used to call Saatchi proper, because it was the advertising agency itself.
Okay.
I came back. I was their Chief Operating Officer for 5 years. And then I wanted to do something totally different. And I became the CEO of a small publicly traded mobile media company. And I said, you know what, this sounds like I've never been a CEO.
Yep.
I don't know anything about technology, and I've never been in a publicly traded company. So it sounds like tough.
Yeah.
And I had a 3-year contract. I stood about 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And then have been with working with Gary for the last 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So it's been a great ride. It's been a great career.
Yep.
And I continue to learn.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a massive thing. And just for the people listening out there, who may be starting their journey, they might be in the midway or they might be coming to the end. For the people who are kind of starting it and that kind of thing, how would you describe your do you find when you've obviously gone to different firms, different cultures and things like that, but your actual role, how would you describe it's different from like a COO, which is a Chief Operating Officer, obviously, to a CEO and then a CFO? Just to break it down for some people who may not have heard of those terms, how would you describe your changing the difference between the roles?
I actually wrote an article on that called Guided Exploration.
Yep.
And what I say in that article, because as you so eloquently put, I've held a lot of those chief roles.
Yep.
But it's interesting, in each role, I touched on something else, right? So as a chief financial officer, I spent time on the human resource side. As a chief operating officer, I spent time on the legal side. As a chief executive officer, I spent time on the client relations side. So, I have a good feel for all of the important elements within the company. The fact that I am a finance guy deep down and helps me make decisions that are financially prudent.
Yep.
and not just kind of steer with emotion. So, Gary asked me, "Can you describe what you do in one sentence?" And I said, "Yeah, I take dreams and visions and I turn them into action plans."
Yeah.
And he said, "Okay, great, you're hired."
Yeah.
A lot of dreams and visions.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we work together.
Yep.
And I think really seeing all of those different C-suite offerings helps me to realize that the chief operating officer role is one that I really like most. I'm glad I've been a CEO. I learned a lot, but I don't think I'd be a CEO of a publicly traded company ever again.
Yeah, right. And you literally took the words out of my mouth of my follow-up question, which was how important was it for you in your career and in your progression, and as you said, learning every day to have those different roles as opposed to just having the same role just in a different company. How important was that for your growth?
Well, it was interesting. So I was leaving Interbrand because I didn't want to be a finance guy anymore.
Yeah, right.
And they were like, "Listen, don't leave. We'll create another role for you." And I got into a conference room, and the then North American president, a guy by the name of David Martin, he said, "Okay, who in here has great ideas?" And 12 of us raised our hands. And he, "Who in here can execute?" And I raised my hand. He said, "Great, you're going to be the chief operating officer."
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
how it was. The mantle was sort of bestowed upon me.
Yep. Yep.
And then, we were hugely successful. Within the first 18 months, we grew revenue by 20%, profits by 60%, and picked up 4 margin points.
Yep.
And, we kind of got
Yep.
on, or I personally got on the radar screen of Saatchi again. And they look, can you kind of help do that here, right? We got a new CEO here, we got a new chief creative officer here to miss the third leg of the stool. Come over here and help us do that.
Yeah.
And I did, and again, we were successful. It's a team effort. It's not one man,
Yep.
But I've been fortunate to be on some successful teams.
It's literally tripling down on what are you passionate about, what you're good at. It's the Gary Vee thing, isn't it? Triple down on that, and then work as a team and get it done.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yep.
when your passion becomes your profession, you're
Yep.
golden. I smile every day that I go to work. I'm not hitting the snooze button in the morning.
Yep.
And I don't know what's in front of me on any given day.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But I utilize, the 800 people that he has in place to get done what we need to get done.
Absolutely. Look, James, thank you so much for joining us today from Australia. I mean, I'm from Australia, but thank you for joining us and being able to touch to the Australian audience. Look, Gary's exposure here is getting bigger and bigger every day, and we've us here personally have been following him for a while now. And our title, just so you know, I've always got to clarify this with people because they're like, "I don't have time to work. What are you guys doing? You're bludging." And it's like, no. So in Australia, work is more so like going to work, working for the man, just working mindlessly and that kind of thing. So so we're more so, express yourself, step outside the circle, and like what you're doing, go and work for someone that you, as you said, you don't hit the snooze button, and you're always happy to get out of bed and go to work.
Right. And this is what Gary refers to when people say, think outside of the box.
Exactly.
Lives in a state of boxlessness.
Exactly.
No box at all.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's been great to be a part of it, and I hope your audience finds it useful.
Absolutely, James. And just one real quick one, just to wrap up before we go. For anyone who's listening out there, whether they're in the States or any country in the world, as you said, Vayner Media is expanding. What would you say are the 3 core values that someone should have if they ever want to go and work at Vayner Media?
Well, for Gary, it's all about empathy.
Yep.
He calls it the Honey Empire, we really take the time to listen and care for our people. It's one of the reasons why we have probably a less than 10% voluntary turnover rate in an industry that averages probably close to 27 or 28.
Yeah.
It's about passion. Gary wants you to be passionate about whatever it is that you're doing. And it's about kindness.
Yep.
Doing the right thing is always the right thing. Just helping out because you can.
That's awesome. Look, thank you so much, James. That's really some really good advice there as well. And for anyone who's listening and they think they want to do their own, maybe work for Vayner Media or have their own thing, I think they're 3 core values for any business to really take on and excel with. So that's great.
Yeah, it's they've been successful pillars at Vayner Media for sure.
Absolutely. Well, James, it's been a pleasure again. You can let Gary know that we're actually going to be on our way over to America within the next year. So hopefully we might be able to tee up a quick interview with him while we're over in New York in the Big Apple.
Great. Be sure to send me the link when your podcast is completed and edited.
Absolutely, will do. Thank you very much, James. Appreciate it again. Thanks for talking to everyone in Australia. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Very good. Have a good night.
Thanks, James.
Well,
Bye.
you.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. Bye.
Yeah, dude, that was such a good interview. Thank you so much for talking to him.
It was awesome,
and,
man. It was a pleasure.
Thanks to James Orsini for joining us on the I Don't Have Time to Work podcast.
Absolutely.
What a chill dude.
Man, it was just like, he just wound things right back to basics, and it's really just common sense. And there's really no excuses for people to freaking do it. Like, for example, getting that interview with James, I literally sent him a tweet on Twitter. Like, I connected over social media. I networked, connected with people, put my balls on the line, threw it out there, something.
Balls out 2018.
Like, if you want to have a chat to someone, or you want to do something, or you want to connect with people, whatever it is you want to do, like, just throw it out there. What's the worst thing that can happen? And the great thing is that I got to talk to an amazing dude, got some really good information. And it was just a really, really cool chat.
You can definitely see why their whole team is absolutely killing it on social media and just basically every platform.
All right, man. It's only going to get bigger, and you can see why.
Speaking of social media, make sure that you follow us at I Don't Have Time to Work on all platforms. There's no friction with us. We're everywhere. See you next week.